bless you comes from. The act of saying bless you.
Didn't it come from like the Middle Ages when people used to think that like you used to have like an evil spirit inside you, and that's why you sneeze or something like that? Start saying bless you or something.
Yeah, that's one of the stories. No, I mean, it's one of the stories. Yeah, I mean, no one knows for sure. But it's one of the stories. The other one is during the Black Death, bubonic plague. One of the symptoms you would show is incessant sneezing, that you had the plague, in which case you probably had about 3 days to live before you died. So the Pope used to come out of Rome and cancer to people to very bless them. You know, he would say, bless you, for the people who sneeze and put some oil on them. That really meant they're on their way out. Right? Kind of their final writings. All right. Any new news? Anything anybody care to share? Job prospects, anything? Sports? Anybody excited for the Super Bowl?
Of course.
Any LeBron James fans here? He's about to break the rings record. Who here thinks that Jordan is better than LeBron? Who here thinks LeBron is better than Jordan? I like this.
I think it's too hard to compare eras like that.
Huh?
I think it's too hard to compare eras between
Really,
players.
you can't. Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, people always talk about greatest of all time with accomplishments and all that stuff. You look at somebody like Kareem, I mean, he got the points, he's got the accomplishments, the longevity, he's got everything, but he played in a different era than everybody else, so he kind of gets discounted. It doesn't get the same kind of respect that everybody else does. You think about it.
Yeah, I mean, the argument is always there to keep something going,
Yeah.
interest in the game. So a lot of times the league itself put out a lot of stuff like that to antagonize, to get people to talk about it. Yeah, you cannot compare. They have 3-point lines at some point, right? Rules were different. All types of things were different. They didn't keep statistics in some categories for Will Chamberlain. All those things. You really can't compare. But still, Jordan's to come. Okay, back to it. So, your company, you've identified what you do best. You're about to start creating some value for your customers. You take your strategy. You said, all right, you got pricing strategies, right? Cost strategies. You want to keep the lowest cost because you think that's the value that customers perceive with your company. We may take other measures, which would be differentiation. You want to be different, right? You want to be different and be scarce, so you be Prada, Louis Vuitton, Rolls Royce, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Rolex, any of these companies that identify themselves to be different. Thus, the value is the scarcity within the product, to be rare, so you don't have to worry about costs. Cost is not your strategy. So you're now ready to execute, right? You execute from the beginning on after figuring out who you are as a company, what strategy you're going to take. Typically, you want to be consistent in how you think and make decisions from there on out. So, for example, Apple's identified if they just keep rolling out with the new iPhone every September, pretty consistent, right? It works. They say, hey, we may make small, subtle modifications in how we do it. And maybe we'll add another phone slightly smaller and give it a different name, because maybe we've targeted that some people say kind of want smaller phones too, so a group of people may want smaller after doing research. So you add something subtle, but typically the same exact strategy is there. If it's not broken, no need to fix it, right? Just make small changes. Walmart's the same. They're be consistent in their strategy and how they decide things. Make very, very subtle, small changes. So consistency is key. When you're making decisions for businesses, especially, you want to be highly, highly consistent. And just make subtle changes. Now that you have differentiation, where do you go from there? How do you keep increasing value, right? If your core competency is differentiation, okay, we're just a different company with different product. How do you keep it going? How do you keep growth? How do you keep the value in? You can't keep things the same. And you have to constantly evolve the business, right? So what do you do? What are some of the ways? Yes.
Probably create like unique items that you can't get anywhere else. I'm actually gonna, Leslie and I are actually gonna talk about this later in our presentation agency, but just in general, you have an opportunity to like really stand up to the crowd, even if someone else is doing the same thing as you. So like, I think it's not right, but let's say a special type of dish or snack that really no other company or franchises tries to replicate.
So come up with a new dish, right? So just throw an example, as you said, if you're a restaurant, so we're talking about restaurants. Okay, you're a restaurant, you're different. Like, hey, okay, we sell something different here. Now, how do you further divide the difference? You further divide the difference by saying, hey, let me look on this menu that you guys used to have. Guess what? Okay, now the burger got a pretzel bun for this one for number 6. Oh, this one has a poppy seed bun. This one you got a special sauce on, right? This one you got an Angus burger, right? This one you have ground beef. Oh, you added a chicken sandwich. You further differentiate the product, right? So you segment it even further. You go beyond that by saying, well, you add on, all right, people like the burgers, let's get some new add-ons to see if we can complement the main thing that people like, a complementary product. What are, besides like restaurants, what would be some complementary products to main products that companies create?
Like if you think about Apple, iPhones have like a lot of different like accessories that you need or that you could want. Like of course the stuff that you need, like a phone charger, stuff like that, is sold complementarily along with iPhones. But like Apple Watches, AirPods, their headphones, all that stuff is kind of like stuff you don't need, but are really nice to have to go along with the phone.
Yeah, I mean, you think it's a simple thing, right? You're the marketing people for Apple. You got the phone is successful, it's out there. You said, man, where do we go from here? Do we just keep building on the phone? Do we keep adding a better camera each year? And then they're like, no, let's segment it even more by creating complementary products. Well, what kind of complementary products could people want besides this phone we created? We're like, hey, maybe people are tired of pulling out the phone. Well, what could they do? Introduce a smartphone, right? And the same apps can upload to the watch. You can get a phone call without answer a phone call without pulling out the phone. You further segment by using the same platform, but just creating complementary things to it. To me, I think the AirPods, the AirPods may be one of Apple's greatest inventions, right? Because for long, everybody had the wired thing, and we just know how that worked out, right? They break all the time, and they're just highly inconvenient. And so the AirPod solved the audio solution, right? And made it beautiful. Once again, Apple's about designing beautiful products first, and then making it, ever more functional. So you got your AirPods. What other kind of industries or companies have created these complementary products? Yeah.
The hotel industry usually includes like complimentary soap, shampoo, conditioner, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So you say, all all right, people are here, we know they're gonna use the bathroom and take showers, and we wanna have like sort of a spa-like feel in it. Do we start branding our own shampoo? Do we start branding our own soaps in the bathroom, right? So that people say, hey, I remember, oh, that's the one I tried at whatever hotel. You know, they got it downstairs, you can buy it if you want to get a scent home, have moisturizer home, yeah, whatever, right? Bathrobes, any of the things that they find to be attractive. So basically you're using, you're sort of anchoring off the demand of the major product, which is the hotel service using, and further dividing the segment by looking at creative ways to get new things extracted from it, right? Apple will further divide, who knows what they'll come up with next. Another thing would be, anybody here into like watches or luxury watches or anything? Or like going to those type of stores? No, we just think of those like a men's store luxury watches, right? So you're like, well, what goes with a nice watch? You're like, oh, you know, we like, they may start selling wallets, right? So now they sell small leather goods for wallets because you got a nice watch, match with a nice wallet, right? Money you think comes out of it for the watch. You're like, well, from there, how do we further divide that? Well, we start selling nice, really nice ink pens, right? Like, yeah, maybe a guy likes to collect watches. They want to collect nice, fine pens. He has an appeal or aesthetic for this sorts of things, right? But what else? Well, we can start doing leather bags or really nice high-end bags too. So it doesn't stop at the watch, and it doesn't stop at the next year's model of the watch. It doesn't stop. You have to keep getting more creative by creating complementary products. And that's how you further divide, you segment what you currently have, or further divide the market. Now, I mean, in this sort of day and age, it's like hyper segmentation, which means the competition is it's a lot of competition. Now the thing is with these, say, luxury companies, right? We're talking about maybe creating that value through differentiation, luxury. People love luxury things, right? People spend a lot of money on clothes. What are some of the threats that those companies face? What are some of the major threats that those luxury companies face?
Streetwear companies making something slightly more affordable, kind of like the same look.
Yeah, think about that, right? Like, man, people spend $1,500 for this coat, jacket, shoes, right? Your competitor sees it. It's like, I'm gonna make it's very similar. I'm not gonna use these, whatever materials you use. We're gonna downgrade the materials, right? We can sell it for 60% less because we know that people like it. They just can't afford it, right? People like it. The vast majority like it. They just can't afford it. So we like, hey, Mr. Brand who likes to do luxury, you can't make it cheap. That'll hurt your brand. Your price is where it's at. We're gonna come in and make it more affordable. Say for Zara, right? So you're like, oh man, people can afford clothes that look like Gucci and Prada, Louis Vuitton. So Zara comes in and make these fine looking clothes at slightly above H&M prices, right? And we say that, hey, does it work? Yeah. Everybody wants to feel good, feel luxurious, and have that particular type of look. And it's work. The other thing would be counterfeits, right? And then you got a luxury brand and you pay whatever, $40,000. Someone comes in and say, hey, we just replicate the same thing, put it $4,000, right? You basically just steal the entire idea but sell it in a place where really you're not gonna face any real penalties to get it sold. Once again, you've let the market already dictate the demand. You know it works. You know people want it. You know people buy it. So you just come in and exactly replicate the concept or the idea. Or you get really close to where you're maybe not legally liable to do it. You know? And we all, every company imitates. Just the degree to which you imitate will get you in trouble. right, so consistent pattern of behavior, consistent pattern of execution, analysis with small, subtle differences in how you make decisions, right? That's where we are right now after your business level strategy. Taking on differentiation, cost, focus differentiation, cost leadership, etc. All right, rivalry with existing customers for cost leadership, right? You want to be the leader with cheap products, right? Because of cost leaders' advantageous position, rivals hesitate to compete on the price variable. We talked about that with Walmart. Factors that influence the degree of rivalry that firms encounter when implementing the cost leadership include the size of the organization, resources possessed by rivals, location, firms dependent on a particular market, competitive interactions, etc., etc. We talked a little about differentiation strategy. Let's talk about technology before we get to total quality management. So adding value through technology, which is an essential component for successful businesses today. What are some of the creative ways that you can use technology to add more value to your company? Adding value through technology, right? So you have a technological plan separate. Okay, you say speedy advertising, right? So using technology to do speeding and creative advertising, which you couldn't do in print ads, right? So you say you get all type of crazy graphics or commercial or something on Instagram or TikTok, maybe something really funny, but something you can do quick to get it out there and it can be broadcast to a lot of people. What else? Technology.
Probably help efficiency, like online orders to line or but Disney has their Magic Bands to help with tickets and you your hotel key.
Yeah, I mean, think of Walmart for a second, right? Who goes to Walmart? Everybody here, right? Who uses Walmart's app? Anybody ever been on their app? Walmart got everything on the app. Like literally almost everything. It was almost like a miniature Amazon. So from that position, Walmart could say, hey, we can have things that you do not see in the store on our app, right? Our inventory is much broader here. So now we're able to supply more things that we don't have to necessarily hold from inventory. And guess what? We'll let actual suppliers put their stuff on here. We get a cut of the transaction. So we don't hold the inventory. We don't need to hold it in a facility or anywhere. It's coming direct from the supplier. They're just using their platform, right? Just like they would use Amazon, just like they would use eBay as a platform to sell some stuff. But obviously, they would get their cut, right? So Walmart like, okay, we got the stuff in the stores. Now we got our stuff online, which is even more broader. Like you go on Walmart's app, you could buy like Coach wallets, Prada, Gucci. Like you could buy all types of stuff, like Rolexes and stuff that you can't find at Walmart, right? So obviously they broaden their base. So you can use it to broaden your scale of what you're being able to sell, right? Through apps. And also it's making it easier for people to purchase. People can create a profile, save their information, and secure their transactions. So as return customers, it's just a quick process. Now, total quality management, right? This involves the implementation of appropriate tools and techniques to provide products and services to customers with the best quality, right? So firms develop and use TQM systems to increase customer satisfaction, cut costs, reduce the amount of time required to introduce innovative products to the market. And these effective effective TQM systems helps the firm develop the flexibility needed to identify opportunities. So these are whole management system set being studied by the individuals. You know, you could be hired as a role of TQM, and this is all you do is try to look for increased customer satisfaction, cut costs of the product, reduce the amount of time, which is kind of dealing with like the operations and management and global supply chain, other course I teach in this area. We're looking to create efficiencies. Okay, we'll start on the next chapter and move away from this one. Any questions? Chapter 5 is competitive rivalry and competitive dynamic. Think of almost business as like a sport. Everyone's trying to win. Your coach drafts up different plays. There's a lot of rules to the games that can't be violated, which we describe as laws. But there's a lot that go into it, right? There's a lot of change that we need to do, right? So here we're looking to define competitors, competitive rivalry, competitive behavior, and competitive dynamics, describe market commonality and resource similarity, explain awareness, motivation, and ability as drivers, describe how strategic actions and tactical actions drive competitive rivalry, factors affecting the likelihood a firm will take actions, factors affecting the likelihood a firm will respond to actions, and explain competitive dynamics in slow cycle, fast cycle, and standard cycle markets. Just off the bat, what could you think of would be like a slow cycle market versus a fast cycle market? Where change happens either short term very quickly or change happens long term. That was like a long term cycle. Or slow. Maybe think of the financial industry, right? Yes, we have inflation right now. Yes, the economy is doing bad here in the United States and potentially even globally. But this doesn't happen that often, right? The Dow Jones was still increasing all the time. It constantly goes up. So it's very rare that you'll see like another Great Depression or something, right? So if you're in the financial sector, as long as you invest in the things that are normal, don't get too risky, you should be quite okay. Hence why a lot of firms like Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, and those last a very, very long time. All right, here we're defining competitors as firms operating in the same market, offering similar products and targeting similar customers. Competitive rivalry is the ongoing set of competitive actions and competitive responses that each one takes. And the outcomes of competitive rivalry influences the firm's ability to develop and then sustain its competitive advantage. And level, right, above, as we always say, above, below or average returns, right? Trying to maximize returns above average. Competitive behavior, set of competitive actions and responses a firm takes to build or defend its advantages in the market. And we also got multi-market competition, which occurs when firms compete against each other in several product or geographic markets. What's an example of a multi-market competition? Well, there are some companies competing against each other in multi-markets. Yeah.
Not sure this would be a good example, but probably firms trying to reach out to the same audience geographically. Like, just something simple. So there's been a lot of ads, and each company's trying to get at least a good amount of time to at least be somewhat memorable for a large television audience.
Okay. What do you think of anything specifically, like company-wise?
Probably snack companies, cleaning companies, or like.
Okay, I was actually, I think are there cleaning companies, right? You think of Procter and Gamble, you say, well, how many different products could Procter and Gamble operate? Well, all toothpaste stuff, cleaning supplies, right? Tide, right? Some of the other products, it goes with these. Right? They have a whole range of products and they compete, probably I would think like Colgate. Colgate's another big one. As I say, they just compete over different products in different segments, right? Different markets, but same company. And then competitive dynamics is the total set of competitive actions, responses taken by all firms competing in a market. So here from competition to competitive dynamics, right? So here competitors engage in competitive rivalry. Why? To gain advantage in the market position. How? Through competitive behavior, actions, and responses. What's the results? Dynamics, actions, and responses taken by all firms competing in the market. A strategy success is a function of the firm's initial competitive actions, right? How well the firm anticipates competitors' responses to them. You have to think everyone's watching each other in the same market. Everyone's watching each other's next move, next product, next service, and they're gonna respond to that. Either they're gonna respond by lowering the price of their current items so that they match yours or beat yours to draw in more demand, right? Or they're gonna create some new product that's either very similar to what you're creating, or completely imitate it, or make something brand new, right? So you're always being observed from your competitors. They're always watching what you do. You know, Burger King's always watching McDonald's. Anything. Actually, Chipotle was one that kind of stuck out. At one point in time, Chipotle was owned by McDonald's because it really didn't have any competitors. Like, who really was a competitor to Chipotle? I can't really think of anybody. Do you think of a competitor to Chipotle? They're like a direct competitor. I mean, you can say Taco Bell, right?
I would say someone like Moe's or Qdoba. Those are kind of the same.
I would say Qdoba, right? But even before Qdoba came around, Taco Bell may be a little bit different, right? You're talking about primarily drive-through don't see too many people sitting inside of Taco Bell. And Chipotle don't have drive-thru like that, except for like in the suburbs. But for the most part, that's not what they're about. Yeah, but Qdoba. But even before Qdoba, they really didn't have any competitors, and so McDonald's owned them. McDonald's had bought them out. I think McDonald's sold them back off. But now you see that there's other businesses like Chipotle, right? Maybe they're not selling burritos, tacos, and bowls, but they're doing something very similar. And kind of how the aesthetic is and how you order the process. What's the one I'm thinking of? It's like green. It's like kind of
Sweet green.
Sweet green. Right? So you may say sweet green may be directly competing against Chipotle. Similar size building, similar way of kind of ordering, difference in menu, similar, right? But difference in the menu and coming off as quasi-healthy, right? And they maybe promote more healthy. So like, hey, people go to Chipotle to get the bowl because it's filling, it fills you up, and it's healthy. You get the brown rice instead of white, you get the beans, whatever. But Sweet Green is like, hey, you can get more options. They're limited in what they offer at Chipotle. We're gonna offer some more healthier options here to try to drive demand over here instead of Chipotle, right? I tried Sweet Green, it's not that good. I'm really gonna just stick with Chipotle or something. So yeah, you're constantly being watched and you're constantly tweaking and changing based on what your rivalries are doing, right? And don't forget that firms also use unethical tactics, I would say, to kind of know what people are doing. They have spies, espionage, corporate espionage, right? They try to figure out plans before the plan's actually implemented to jump on it. All types of things, which, if caught, could be illegal. Right? So it's basically it's like some sort of warfare. Right? You send spies over to get for reconnaissance and try to get information. Competitive rivalry evolves from the pattern of actions and responses. As one firm's competitive actions have noticeable effects on competitors, eliciting competitive responses from them. This pattern suggests that firms are mutually interdependent. Right? They rely on each other. They rely on each other a lot in order to get information about the market, about demand, about strategies. Competitors' actions and responses affect each other mostly all the time. And marketplace success is a function of both strategies on the individual level for companies and the consequence of those strategies. So here's a model of competitive rivalry, right? Competitor analysis, market commonality, resource similarity. Right? So you don't have competitors unless they show commonality within the marketplace, or what you're selling, your service, or your product is very, very similar. Right? Those are the drivers of competitive behavior, which is awareness. You're aware that you are in competition with one another. Right? You're motivated to act based on what the other company does. You can look at the ability in which you're able to execute your actions. So like I said, they do send spies out, or they just look to see, to kind of gain, look at the history of the company's decisions and actions, try to gain some insight on how to predict what your rival is going to do, right? So you think of maybe the likelihood of attack being lowering the price of a similar product, or so first mover benefits, creating a new product, you want to be the first person to do it. Right? Organizational size, maybe you increase the scale of your business, you hire more employees, maybe you open up more locations. Typically, firms open up a lot more locations in order, as both a marketing tool and a way to just gain market share over their competitors by exposure. They sort of overexpose themselves. Sometimes that works out not good because now you owe a lot of debt, right? You have all these locations, you owe the bank a lot of money to pay for all these locations and all the items in it. And if you don't meet sales demands, now you're gonna close a lot of stores, and that's probably gonna have a bad effect on how people live. Right? Word gets around, you close a lot of stores, now people think that you're a failing company. Or increasing the quality of what you're selling. Get better suppliers and better materials. And we got likelihood of response, right? Type of action your competitors take, that's depends on, will initiate your response. Their reputation, how aggressive you think they will respond, the likelihood in which they actually might back up what they're saying or proposing, and how dependent they are on the market. So the outcome from all of this would be your position in the market, moving up or down within the marketplace, or financial performance, or gains and losses. All right, competitor analysis. Competitor analysis is the first step the firm takes to be able to predict its competitors' actions and responses. All right, so we're looking at a few things, and you guys eventually will do some of this later on as you look at your companies you analyze. So analysis is a technique firms use to understand their competitive environment by studying your competitors' future objectives. What do you predict? You know, if you're Google and Samsung, what do you predict Apple's gonna do next? If you're Apple, what do you predict that Samsung's gonna do next with phones? You do that by looking at its current strategies, observe what they're doing. We say, well, okay, well, what's the difference between Apple and Samsung? Well, Samsung got flip phones, Samsung got giant phones, Samsung got all types of phones, all types of different designs. Like, okay, well, they have a difference in design strategy. Your Samsung looking at Apple and like, well, Apple never changes its design. So how are you gonna predict what they're gonna do next? And you're like, okay, well, over X amount of years, Apple typically introduces a new product into a segment, right? AirPods, Apple Watch, etc. So you're like, well, okay, well, Apple probably is coming out with a unique product, Apple Glasses, right? They want to compete with the Oculus 2 from Meta. They want to get into the space of virtual reality or augmented reality. Like, all right, well, they're coming out with some glasses, so maybe we should come out with some glasses too. Right? But ours got to be unique, and what will it be unique? So you got your personal assistants, Alexa, Hey Google, Play, whatever, right? You got your Apple one, and they've all followed step by step after each other, just added their own tweakles. So you're using a lot of assumptions of what they do. And then you say, what are they capable of? How much money they have to invest in such a product to compete? How much resources they have, people, money, plants, facilities, marketing, to be able to achieve whatever it is they plan on achieving. So looking at those capabilities is another part of competitive analysis. So once you understand your competitors, they can use competitor analysis to predict competitive behavior in the form of their competitive actions and responses, being able to predict rivals' likely competitive actions, in responses accurately helps a firm avoid competitive blind spots. To be totally in the blind and then see that one coming from a company. Situation in which it's unaware of competitors' objective strategies, assumptions, and capabilities. So not only do you have your great idea for your companies, which is wonderful. If you don't know your competitors, you're already at a deficit, you're at a loss. You don't know who you're competing against, you're at a deficit, at a loss. You need to know that. If you already have a competitor, they already have information about the marketplace, which you don't, right? You're gonna be a new startup or what have you. And understand how large their market share is, what do they do well, what do they do poorly, what kind of resources they have, how capable they are for growth, and place a lot of assumptions about what sort of actions they'll take if you were to take some sort of action. So it's a teeter-totter, it's a back and forth. So when you look at the three major players in any market, you say, hey, they really execute the same exact strategy and products. Like, man, they really do kind of come out with the same stuff if they're competing against one another at the top. No one ever really goes rogue at that point. You know, no one ever really creates anything too different. Just put slight differences on it. And typically it's like, well, who made more money this quarter? The person who came out with the product first, they came out with a new product first, right? So say Amazon beat out Google and Apple on, the personal assistant situation, Alexa. Therefore, Alexa made more money than the rest because they came out second and third. But then over another period, you say, well, you could gain advantage by adding some new features that other one don't have capabilities of doing. Google said, we own the search engine that most people use in the world. Therefore, we got some sort of advantage. It's just going to take a little time to catch up with the features. Apple would say, well, we have an integrated environment, right? The operating system works with all the devices. So say we have that as our core competency. So therefore, people who own Apple products will once again buy another Apple product as part of the ecosystem of Apple products, right? So they all kind of teeter-totter and go back and forth on their core competencies. So every quarter somebody do well, somebody do better than the next. But typically it works for the top market leaders. All right, market commonality and resource similarity, right? Here they're just talking about framework of competitive analysis. So here we're looking at high market commonality. You see the overlap, right? And high resource similarity. So here you have extreme overlap. There's a lot of areas of overlap in. Here, high market commonality, but low resource similarity, right? Here we have a little bit more. Here a little bit less, low and low. And here low and high. And lastly, market commonality is concerned with the number of markets with which the firm and a competitor are jointly involved and the degree of importance of individual markets of each. And firms competing against one another in several markets engage in multi-market competition. In general, multi-market competition reduces competitive rivalry, but some firms will still compete when the potential rewards are high. All right, any questions with this? It gets better, you guys. As the chapters go on. I know that the first few chapters can be redundant on things, but it's going to get a little bit more technical. All right. Who's doing the case on Monday? What company is it again?
AMC.
Huh?
AMC.
Oh, AMC? AMC Theaters. AMC Theaters, I think it's still owned by a private equity. Remember, hey guys, I'm in private equity. What that means is I buy out a bunch of stuff and I buy control of companies too. But they're the real big players, the real heavy hitter guys. And those guys, if you look up AMC, I think they're owned by a private equity group. They buy out major corporations. So when they typically do it when companies start failing and the value of their stock gets really low, like Sears, Kmart, Toys R Us, any of those companies go bad, you'll see private equity companies come in, swoop, and buy them up. And either they do two things: they rearrange the company and manage them all over again, or they bankrupt the company on purpose to make a profit. So, it's a pretty interesting industry to be in. All right, well, I will see you Monday. You guys have a great weekend.